Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Racing Topic Podcast. I am Chad Webster here today with me a very special guest. Please welcome to the plate Mr. Tony Ploder. Tony Ploder. I completely botched that, but anyway, Tony, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you, Chad?
I'm doing great, doing great.
Good.
So, let's get right into it. So, obviously, and for everybody that probably knows or doesn't know, this is the father of Logan Ploder. But it's always good to see the fathers out here playing a big role. Of course, they're almost the backbone to us kids when we start up racing and everything. They basically the ones that pay the bills and stuff, and we go out and have all the fun. We're wrenching, they're wrenching, busting their asses off for us, and we end up having all the fun. They're sweating themselves. So, yeah, that's what basically goes on. So let's start from the beginning, Tony. What got you into racing?
Well, I didn't do any racing myself other than public go-karting, and I always felt like I was pretty quick there. But used to take Logan out to Goodwood on the big red slow carts there, and did that. We loved it. We went to Speed Park, and I promised him every year that he only had about a quarter inch to go to be able to drive his own carts, and then the place went out of business. So we went back to Goodwood, and we saw the arrive and drive going on, and we thought we'd get into that. I think he got into it when he was about 7.5, and it was a really slow start. He was slow at it and too cautious, and told me he was worried about breaking a cart. I said, "Don't worry about it, because if you break a cart, they'll go get another one out of the garage." So we did that for a bunch of years, and every 2 years he always got the championship in the arrive and drive. So I said, you know what, now it's time to get your own cart, and we got into a big investment there, and never really looked back since. It's been fun.
I can see that.
And during the arrive and drive, I did sign up for 1 year, and I think I did about 4 or 5 races, and consistently got second last.
Oh.
And finally, I said, you know what? I'm just here for Logan, so I quit it. So, yeah.
But overall, for the racing experience, did you think it was pretty good? Like for
Oh yeah.
people of all ages?
Oh yeah. I think if you can find a sport that you can do, whether it's on the ice or with a ball, or karting was something I never really thought of before. I think it's you got to find something for your kids, and karting. Logan lives for that. Like he doesn't do any other sports, so he loves doing that. And being a parent to go out and see your son doing that, or daughter, it's an awesome feeling.
I can agree, especially if, well, even if I have kids one day, it's always great to see them, and it's something they want to do, right? Like, you know,
Oh yeah.
they're just out there all the time enjoying it. Well, most of the time, of course, frustrating things happen, but
Oh yeah.
most of the
Yeah.
time they're doing something completely that they love and getting into it. And, well, I mean, as they get older, they more or less understand the money and, more or less the commitment that
Yeah.
goes into it as well.
Yeah, and I know as a parent, there is times when I've gone, or we're driving to the track, and it's like, oh, the weather is gonna suck, or this person is there, and it's gonna be hard, and it's funny. Logan never backs down, no matter what. He's he's learned to drive better in the rain than he used to, but you carters are like, it goes so deep with you. You don't want to, back down for anything. We've been there where it's so bad out that there's ice on the track, snow on the side, or literally I am holding my tent down from flying away, and you guys just want to still do it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, the
So,
commitment level is pretty astounding for, I guess, the entire community. Which brings me up to the next topic. How much do you think that commitment matters in the grand scheme of things to like success and being up front week in and week out and competing, especially at the big races like Kart Stars and Ron Fellows?
it's a it's a big deal. When we were in Arrive and Drive, it was like so easy to pick a day that you're gonna go, and if you don't make it, you can do a different day to make up for it. But when it comes to the club racing, it's a little less merciless. Or there's no mercy in it. You have to be there no matter what. And then when you get to the Ron Fellows races and the nationals and even our travel races, the commitment is you sign up for it, you got to go at all the time. And whether it's too hot, too cold, too windy, too rainy, you have to do it. There's just no ways around it. Yeah, there's times when I'm like, you know what? Could they not just call it quits today?
Yeah.
But nope, the drivers they just want to go no matter what. So it's a huge commitment. But you start. It's like hockey and all those other ones. You start as a parent. You start enjoying doing it. And you kind of wonder what would you do with all that spare time if you weren't doing this.
Yeah.
So it's lots of fun
In the grand scheme
and
of things.
stressful.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
admit it does get stressful at times, especially when you're competing up with these, like, a lot of it can be really competitive, high profile races,
Yep.
championship points at stake and all that, sometimes the frustrations get the better of you. And
Oh
I'm
yeah.
sure it's happened to all of us at least multiple times, even in the past year and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's not always rosy, but it
no,
is.
no.
It is fun. So
hmm it's a fun sport to be, and a lot of times you don't come out on the winning way, but that's how it is. And even then, you don't always win, but you can still say, man, I had a lot of fun doing that race because it was an awesome race to be a part of.
yeah.
So, a lot of that goes into it. So, and I also want to wonder, not just Logan, but did any other of your family members want to get into racing? Like any of your other kids or like any of your
No.
siblings?
No. Like well, his sister, we went and did public karting and stuff like that, and he liked doing that part. And his stepbrothers also did like doing the karting, in whatever state or wherever we were. We always seemed to fit a race in here and there. It was always fun. But when it comes to Arrive and Drive or anything more serious, he's the only one.
Hmm.
Like,
Well, in the grand scheme of things, it probably costs you a lot as it is, but the cost could always keep going, skyrocketing, because we see it in the community today, how many siblings and like, you know, brothers and sisters are in it at the same time and on the same team, and of course, their parents slash family members have to keep up with the cost and stuff, and it's probably a lot harder, to keep up with two drivers, and not only that, but also if they want to run two classes.
oh yeah, oh yeah. It like it. I've seen it. I don't know how they do it, but you have to have a different, I guess, occupation than me.
Mm-hmm.
But being with the four-stroke, um, it's something that a lot of parents can learn and figure out. You know, whereas the two-stroke, I see a lot of parents move from the four-stroke to the two-stroke, and it's a lot more to know, a lot more.
Whole different ball game,
Yeah, yeah. Well,
especially yeah, like I've been on the receiving end of that where now it's easier to go from two stroke to four stroke, but if you're going from four stroke to two stroke, it's a whole different learning experience with the
oh
different
yeah,
speed and different driving style that you have to incorporate on that.
and the mechanic.
That too, yeah, you got to know how to get all the right setups in and all that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and I'm guessing, look, did you guys really try and plan on maybe racing two stroke at all? Like, was there any uh like opportunity or like headway to go into that line, or just stay right where you guys were comfortable?
What I would like to do is he did. let me back that up. He did try a couple of times on a two stroke. He loved it. Um, he also did a full day of it at when we were in France with a I guess it was DD2 and loved it. But I had to think of if you're really good at racing, it does take a lot of time, effort, money to keep everything top notch as best as you can to stay up front. And if we were to go into two stroke, I would figure that eventually he would be up front again or in the front pack, and it would just get beyond what I could afford. So we stayed with the four stroke, and I love to see him doing his best out there, and we're doing our best back at the pits. So to answer that, I think we're going to stay in four stroke unless some magical way of getting into a car. Because I know when you get into two stroke, you could literally be almost getting the same money as it is to get into a car somewhere.
Yeah, because it does cost. The two-stroke program is a lot more expensive than the four-stroke one. And
Yeah,
I will even go as far as to say, I think a lot of people can agree with me on this, is the four-stroke relies a lot more on driver skill and
yeah,
setup, whereas
yeah,
the two-stroke, it's like, again, a lot of skill involved in knowing how to set it up, but also there's a lot of money that can go into, getting motors, getting some serious motors and, tuners and all this stuff. And the same thing with four stroke as well, just not really in the motor area, but still with those high profile teams. Um, and I know you guys are affiliated with Professional Racing Ontario still. Do you guys think that that's still a really decent team the way they're going right now, especially with them co-owning Mossport and having their own scholarship team?
I really think so. They have really like Logan's been with them the first team he ever belonged to, like a mechanics team like that, was pro, and he's been with pro the whole time, other than a few races that was regrettably not with them. And I've seen them over the last few years just get so much more advanced and better organized, and more business like. And I think it's not just the two guys running around anymore, Daryl and Curtis, running off their legs. They are really really manning the tent very well. They have people doing dedicated jobs, and they're able to not put their hands on the cart so much anymore and do the managing that they should be doing. And I think they're doing an awesome job.
Hmm.
We would stick with them forever. Logan loves those guys. So
And I think
it's really good.
when you're at that position for so long in a team, of course, you work your way up the ranks where you almost get appointed to nearly the face of the franchise and like, one of their top drivers, especially if you're constantly successful and all this, like constantly running up front, winning big profile races and competing for championships.
Like Logan, I mean, they've noticed too that Logan's gotten better now because he's put more practice in and did more racing at Mossport, and their input's always good, whether they have good things to say or bad things. I always tell Logan, listen to what they have to say. They are they're the guys that you want to listen to. They know, so listen to what they have to say, whether you screwed up somewhere or you did good.
Yeah.
So I value their opinion.
It's always good to have constructive criticism at
Oh
the
yeah,
end of the race. If you make a mistake, you don't want like your team or your parents coming at you. It's like, oh no, that was absolutely terrible. What is wrong with you and all this. Which sometimes it happens. Anger gets the best of you. But it's like the best thing to go away at is like constructive criticism. Sit down if you have footage on a GoPro or a camera of the race. Go over what happened, what you can do differently, and just improve on that. It's all
Yep.
like it all
Yep.
starts with a learning curve, and then it just becomes second nature to you.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
and I also want to ask, is there any plans for you guys to go into like any bigger markets, like stepping out of karting, maybe going into cars?
Oh, I would love to do that. I would love to get him into that for sure because I think whenever I put Logan behind the wheel of something, he does an awesome job. It may take a little bit to get used to a certain set of wheels, but he does awesome. So I would love to be able to get him into something. Karting is a beginner um, thing for like the beginner step of this, and getting into cars would be something that would be a real cool accomplishment. Um, I would just love to get him in that, but we have budgets that we have to worry about too. So
Yeah.
and the time. So
Mm-hmm. And that
yeah.
brings up another topic is how have you managed all of this? With all the money that you have to spend, going to these big races, traveling like kilometers all the way out here, there, like all these different tracks and everything, just to compete and all that. And then it's like, you're actually getting success into this, so it's like, this is not a real waste of time. We're doing so good at this. It's just, how do you manage all that? Just not maybe just last year, but like all the years since you started, especially moving up to, purchasing your own cart and having to go through all that.
Well, the first year was the hardest because you're purchasing carts, you're acquiring your tools, a trailer, um, making sure you have a good vehicle to tow the trailer with, and because you don't want nothing going wrong on the way to a race. But there is the money that you're putting into it, the ongoing money that you have to put into it, like the motors and stuff like that, upgrading carts and stuff. Um, the traveling part is always there's a few things in my industry where I work. You don't get a lot of time off, so you're really trying to squeeze every day you can and make it the most beneficial day you can. Um, our family life, a lot of stuff is put on hold for karting season. Um, so it's having um, someone at home that is understanding of that too. Um, the last two and a half years, um, my wife's been in Europe, and when it comes to the weekends, um, there wasn't really anything else to do other than maybe some housework and stuff. So we were almost every weekend. I think I had 2 free weekends last year,
Oh my goodness.
and then when I did go on my European vacation last year, that was during one of his biggest races, and it was the weirdest feeling of having him actually competing without me on the track. And the strange thing was, I was watching it on Race Monitor from a gas station parking lot in Spain on my phone, and it was just it's stressful and so amazing at the same time. But the commitment is time, money, and your work allowing you to be off as well. So yeah, it did start out at the beginning a lot of investment in money, and then as the years go on, you keep going. But this year, no, we're gonna dial it back a bit, and you have to because you end up going over budget by accident quite often.
Yeah, it can't be a good thing, you get all into it and you get into a rhythm, sometimes you might overdo it, but
Yeah.
and that could come right out of left field, like if you end up getting in a pretty bad crash, which I think
Oh
all
yeah.
of us have had, and
Yeah.
you completely total your chassis. It's like, okay, now I gotta go buy a completely new chassis. What other parts of the cart are good? Like, is the motor still okay?
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
do you have to replace that? And is my driver okay? Like, is he
Well,
walking away from this unscathed?
that's right. They in 2019 in at Mosport when Logan flipped his cart. Um, but you're always watching it from the stands, really far away, and you always, oh no, I hope I hope that kid is okay, and then you look to see who it is, and usually you can only tell by who it is by who didn't come out of the accident. And when you see that it's your kid, it just sends a sword through your body like crazy.
Ugh,
And
I can
and you
imagine.
can't get out there, so you're waiting for them to bring back the hardware, or bring back your kid in the ambulance, and you're just so lucky that all he ended up with was a scrape on his elbow, and then the money part kicks in afterwards. Is like, well, there's a new part, and that wasn't in the budget. But you know what?
Nope.
As a parent, you can't help it. He's got a new cart in a week to go, or for the next weekend or whatever.
Yeah.
So that puts you over budget for sure.
Yeah. It's just always those unpredictable moments. You know, it's going absolutely great one moment, and then it could just end up absolutely
Yeah,
catastrophic
blink
the
of an
next.
eye. Yeah,
Oh
blink
man.
of an eye.
So,
Yeah,
and
that's scary.
I'm guessing with all this racing that you guys are around, you guys are big fans of like, big racing leagues that we see on TV, Formula One,
Yeah.
IndyCar, NASCAR, IMSA. What's your biggest passion in those series? Like, what's the series that you guys follow the most?
Well, from an early age, like maybe he was maybe 6 or 7. We went to our first NASCAR race, and he has been. I think he probably hasn't missed watching a NASCAR race since he was 6. It's been forever, and the biggest conflict in his life is if he's actually racing himself and he's missing a race on
Oh,
TV. So we've gone to I guess maybe 7 different races or like different tracks in the NASCAR circuit, and we've gone to Montreal for the Canada Grand Prix 4 times, and a couple Indy races like in Detroit and that, and I personally like watching F1 now more. It's just so high tech and so I guess high tech and classy to watch. It doesn't have a lot of the same excitement as NASCAR,
yeah.
but it really is an awesome thing to watch. And even today's race, seeing something different where there's two battling the last few laps, I love that. And it wasn't the same guy that we've been seeing for the last 7 years. It felt like so. I have nothing against Lewis Hamilton because I think he's an amazing success story that went from nothing to something.
I agree.
And but it's just nice to see the new battling and new people up front going at it. So it was a good race today.
Mm, I agree. The parody is all the way up there, and this is what fans want to see. They want to see great action. Of course, you're not always going to get it. There's going to be some races that just don't produce it, whether it's the track or whether it's just the certain day. The racing just isn't good. But so far, from what we've seen in 2022, it's been a very hot start from what I've seen for like all racing series.
Yeah,
They've really come out of the box swinging. Formula One and NASCAR have completely new cars and regulations. And Formula One's had two very decent races. I'd say all six, especially today, NASCAR races haven't necessarily been all bangers, but they've been all decent races. Like none of them have been duds so far, and this is what
yeah.
fans want to see. This is what gets you hooked on the sport,
Oh yeah,
and that in turn can lead you over. It's like I love watching this. You know, like take example. You're a kid and you're like 5, 6 years old. You watch this on TV. You're having the time of your life, watching your favorite drivers. You know, duke it out, and even some underdogs come out of nowhere, and it's like this is an absolute great story. Can I get into this? Of course, and it's really hard to get into like these big markets, especially with all the money that goes into it. Like
Oh
that's
yeah.
the backbone of getting it into you. But still, it's like the thought that counts and the dream that you follow, and that's where what brings you into this is you start in these go-karts and stuff like that. And the same thing is with motorcycle racing. Like say you want to get into MotoGP or the Supercross. Well, you start out on dirt bikes or just racing mini bikes at your local track if you have that right next to you. It's like that's where it all starts. It just starts producing, you gain an interest for it and you just take it from there. You follow it the rest of your life and it can just lead to great things.
Yeah, yeah. Like today's races, I was out for most of the day, but I was able to catch the last so many laps of NASCAR, and I actually heard Logan from another floor on that, so I ran down to see those few laps. And same with the F1. Today, I think these races had the most amount of excitement that I've seen in a long time on the last couple laps. It was amazing. And it reminds me of the Nationals last year with Logan and Jordan Pryor. It was just an amazing to watch those two guys race so good, so clean, and have so much excitement to it. It was amazing.
Mm, I can agree. Especially when you can just feel the intensity in the air when all
Oh
this
yeah,
stuff gets going. It's just some people might not have the same passions that we do, but when it all comes together, it is just fantastic to just
oh yeah,
watch and just like almost be a part of it. It's like you're watching this from your own living room and you're screaming like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this happened. This guy just ran into this." And it makes for great stories at parties. Even
yeah,
though we
yeah,
all we all talk about it, we're on our phones, texting each other, calling each other, sending it on social media and stuff. But that's the thing, and this is why when you look at sanctioning bodies like NASCAR, IndyCar, Formula One, their ratings and their fan bases are going up because not only is it all over social media, but especially with the racing product getting back up there and everybody knowing what's going on, it sparks an interest to it, and that
yeah,
in turn gets more people interested, and then the cycle repeats over. It's like some people want to do this, so
yeah.
they go to their local track or your local facility or whatever that have these like rental carts or whatever, and you start doing that. All right, if I want to start racing competitively, let's see if they have a league. All right, let's see if we can actually go full force on this.
Yeah, yeah.
So another thing I wanted to ask is how is the rest of your family towards you guys karting? Are they really supportive and stuff like that? Like Logan's mom and
Yeah,
your wife and everything towards this?
yeah, yeah. Um, there's two families here. My family in this house, very supportive. Never really like everyone's got something to do all the time, so they've always been supportive. Never really put up any kind of wall to it. Um, and on the other side, Logan's mom's house, they are very supportive. They don't really want to miss races. Unfortunately, they missed his biggest race last year.
Oh,
But the regret that I have is, his sister always seems to never get any time given to her.
oh,
She doesn't have any sports or anything that she goes to, but I just like when you look back in hindsight, I'm giving like 90% of my time to him and very little to her. So this year I'd like to make a change on that too. So back away from the karting a little bit and hopefully be able to do something with the sister Tess. So
yeah, that makes more sense.
I
Just to
want to be more fair, and it has been unfair. So,
yeah,
but
it's
at the karting level, it's hard to not put in 100%.
yeah.
No.
Especially when you're up there having success and all the time, it's like you just want to do more. It's in your blood. You just need to just
Yeah,
get into it and do it again. It's like even if it makes you angry, you just want to come back and do more. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is I've seen some parents and their sons and daughters get upset at each other, and I think only one time someone had to settle an argument between Logan and I because we both had a different outlook at what he should have done at turn
Oh,
6 in Mosport. So, but we've always been able to drive home in peace, and you know what? At the end of the day, it's his points, it's his trophy. If he screws it up, then I'm not gonna me doing anything or telling him anything is not gonna make it any better.
yeah.
Leave that to Daryl and Curtis to tell him.
Yeah, and hopefully things don't go the way of the dodo bird and go the wrong way. If
That's right.
but mostly it doesn't. It's a regular civil environment, and of course, drivers are going to get angry with each other. It
Oh yeah.
happens. It's
Oh yeah.
racing. It's just the way of the game. You see it every time. You see it every day in these races. These guys, and even on the radios and stuff. You see the drivers
Yeah.
complaining
Yeah.
about stuff. All right, yeah, it happens, and then the next minute, they forget about it, and then go on. There's a certain few that always hold a grudge, and they don't like each other. But
Oh,
again, name
sure.
of the game. That's just what goes on.
You see that in hockey when you
Yeah,
see two players that they start out mad at each other even though they haven't played each other in months.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It just goes on and on. So, what do you think the future is looking like for you guys? Where do you guys see this whole program and everything going from here?
Well, there's probably two parts to that. One is his actual participation in racing, and then there's the participation in helping the team. The last few years, he's been with a really it's been really cool in the team. Like in 2020 when we were in with pro, the the senior Briggs, I think we had like six, six of them as a team out there, and a bunch of them have gone on to do something else. Last year there was he had a good couple teammates that he was running with, and I'd like to see him continue on racing, but he's 19 now, and there's going to be kind of where dad doesn't really fund it or doesn't do all the wrenching forever because I got to do stuff on my for myself too.
Yeah.
But when he's not going to be racing, he's being like a pro, for instance. He's been helping, coach or give mentoring to the younger kids, and they look up to him because I think he's a straight up shooter kid, and he loves that. He loves it when a younger racer says, "Can you come with me out to the track and do a track walk or something?" That makes me super proud of the dad that he does that, and that's what I like about him going out with being in the pro tent because we're even myself I'm helping out with some of the new dads because like me when you got into this I didn't even know which way to do anything. Like
Yeah.
my first gear change was me taking the axle out and spending 4 hours. I didn't know you got the gear. So it's really it's rewarding to help out someone. And like last year, I helped out. I've changed more tie rods and steering columns than I've ever done, and they were on other people's carts
Oh,
because
jeez.
we were able to help out. It was fun.
Mm. Team environment, man. Everybody
Yeah.
helps
So I
out
mean,
and all that
Logan,
stuff.
Logan in the future, um, I would love to see him, as a side job, even because he's going through schooling for something else right now. But as a side job, going out and helping the kids, it's and their dads. I think it's really rewarding.
I think it is too. Going through the community and stuff, and like you said, he can even end up, running his own team at one point. If he just decides to make that decision, if you feel like you have the money and stuff like that. Again, it's a hard thing to do, but if you have enough of a knowledge on doing all this and you think you can help a bunch of people, especially at startup, and that's what happens. It's like, a lot of kids and drivers come into this sport. They start up, they're mostly on their own. They're
Yeah.
just learning the ropes and all that. And then it seems like after that first season, or maybe into their second season a little bit, they find a home where they stick with the team and they just roll with it from there. And then they start getting better and the results start coming out, and then you're set. You get completely into a rhythm. Here you go,
Yeah.
week in, week out. Like, competing for championships and stuff like that. It works. Like that, it seems like, is how it goes. And sometimes you're just a natural lightning in the bottle out of the gate. Like you just
Yeah.
absolutely start tearing it up on the track and just winning. And sometimes, some people just take a bit more time. You're a bit of a late bloomer. You get into it, takes a bit of
Yeah.
time, but hey, eventually you get there. Especially if you put your head to the grindstone and you just go for it. You'll eventually find success.
Oh
So
yeah. Yeah. Like, and sometimes you find success. I mean, Logan has even almost unexpectedly. Like he's grew up on at Goodwood and is done very well at Goodwood. And then periodically we were doing um, going to Mossport, and then he's been doing a lot more at Mossport. He's been working there, practicing more, and stuff like that. And he's gotten better there. And then when we go on a travel race, it just astounds me sometimes how unexpectedly he just finds the rhythm at another track that he's never been to, and does awesome. Last year I was beside myself at Hamilton, and I mean Leamington, um, like just to go somewhere and just somehow get into the feel of it so quick. So yeah, sometimes things can go bad. Sometimes things can go great unexpectedly. You just never know. You never know.
no, because once you head in there, sometimes you can just be walking into the complete unknown, and it can take a bit. But if you get your feet settled,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
then you could be completely all good to go. So it
Yeah.
it's just that's all it takes. It's just getting your feet wet, getting settled in, and then it could go all the way. And some drivers, it's not for them. They try it out. Maybe it's because they didn't end up getting the results they wanted, or they just stopped having fun. They just drop out of it and stuff. But
Yeah.
hey, it doesn't hurt to try things. You're never
Oh no.
gonna get anywhere in life if you don't try. So you
Yeah.
just go ahead and try it. If you don't like it, well, that's fine as well. You know, it was just something to try, and
Yeah.
maybe it's just not for you. So
I've had people say to me, "Well, maybe I could get my son into that," and I say you have to do a arrive and drive first.
yes,
You have to put in a year or two of that first, and maybe in your second year, maybe start practicing on your own kart, and then maybe enter into a race or so. But don't just go out and go out and start doing it right from scratch. You have to do the arrive and drive first
yeah,
because you want to know if you like it or not.
yeah, exactly,
Arrive and drive, there's almost no investment, almost. And then getting into this, there is a big investment.
yeah,
So that's what my advice is. Definitely do arrive and drive first.
yeah. I would say it takes a lot of planning and stuff like that to where it's like you don't want to fast track yourself in there because you're already losing half the battle. Because a lot of this, at the end of the day, it comes down to experience as well. A lot of the most experienced guys are the ones that are up at the front. They've been in
Yeah,
these situations before. They've done
yeah,
it all before.
mm-hmm.
You start out, not buying your own stuff, run their equipment. Let's see if you can get the hammer down at this. All right, you've gotten it down. You can become a champion. All right, it's time to take the next step. You
Mm-hmm.
go to
Of
the
course.
you go to the club level and
Yep.
you start building a name for yourself there. That works out, and then here come the big races. And that's really the big step right there is those big races like Kart Stars, Ron Fellows, the Canada Cup, the Canadian Open, the Nationals. And it's like if you're running up front and you're winning those, it's like this could be your big break. You head into like something like into cars, 1600s, 1200s, the
Yeah.
micro cup, and all this good stuff. So it's a cycle that keeps repeating,
Yeah.
and not everybody makes it, and a lot of that can do with like money problems, or you just unfortunately this just wasn't for you. But you know, in the end, you can't really say it was. There's not many people that you'll hear that come out of this community to say it was a totally bad experience. Like almost everybody you see has fun doing this, even if it's just hanging out at the track and everything, and you get to see everybody. Especially with, COVID restrictions starting to loosen up and all that coming as well.
Yeah. I think we were very fortunate, even though we've had two condensed years, like or crammed years. Um, the last 2 years with all the COVID restrictions, and then COVID, floating around everything. I think in the karting community, I never heard anyone being infected um, in the karting setting. So it makes me feel good that when we're out there, that things were feeling, safe or safer. And the thing about karting too is being out there in the weather. I always lose weight as the summer goes on, get a wicked tan, and during the winter, I'm like this heavier, pale guy. So it is nice to be out there and that. But like I said, some days I wish I could stay home just because of the weather.
Yeah,
But you know what? It's fun. It's fun to get out there and do this um, during what the bad situation that we've all been living through the last couple of years.
I totally agree. Couldn't agree with you more. Well, I think I'm gonna leave this episode of the podcast here. It's been exhilarating. I think we covered, quite a bit, like, you know, from starting point to like, getting your feet wet and getting into these series. Don't fast track yourself and just
So
take it easy, settle in, you're good to go. And like we said, you watch all this stuff on TV and it's like that just gets you hooked, man. Like if you're just all in for it, just go ahead. You're never gonna get anywhere in life if you don't take any chances. So, ladies and
that's right.
gentlemen,
I
thank
have
you.
one thing to
Oh,
add though.
go ahead.
Sorry.
Sorry.
The one thing I did want to say is um, in the karting community, people are most of the people, almost every one of them, is an awesome person. You know what? We have our the people in our tent. Like even when it was even just you and Trevor and me and Logan in a tent, or even our from back in the days of the FMR team, we had our close knit friends and teammates, and then there's people outside your tent that you also enjoyed seeing, and like they were good friends, even though their kid is competing against your kid. We're all together, and then there's even the next step, which is people maybe that you don't see a lot of, but you were always getting along very well. And I'm saying this from a father of a driver who is respectable out there on the track, and is courteous and that, like yourself. Very easygoing. And then even when we went to away tracks, where we're virtually strangers to everybody, everyone wants to be friendly and helpful. We've been to many tracks around Ontario, Quebec, and it's just such a good feeling. It's if you like doing a sport where the parents all get along and do stuff, it's good too. Like when we went to Quebec, we had half a restaurant just to our group. It was awesome.
Oh man.
If I could add that it's just so much fun for the parents to be part of this too. Lots of
I
fun.
I think so as well. You get all those fun memories. That's another thing that I should actually point on as well. Is it's not just all at the track, but all these team nights, team meetings, or whatever that you go to afterwards. You're going out for dinner, you're having a good time. It's just the sky's the limit, man. You're just enjoying life. as it is, forgetting all the negative thoughts are just not in your mind. It's just hanging out with people. That's just, that's the way you want to live. You just,
Yeah, like laughing. I mean, in under our tent, there's a lot of laughing going on. There's the odd f bomb here and there too. It's a lot of fun, lots.
mm-hmm.
Not everyone comes out on top every day.
No,
We all know that going in, but we have fun. It's fun.
that's honestly the biggest thing in
Yeah.
this whole thing is just have fun. A lot of times, you're not gonna have fun, but
Nope.
that's the nature of the thing. You can't always have it, but if it's happening most of the time, then why stop doing it? So
That's right. Yeah.
that's the biggest thing I'd take away. Anyway,
Yeah.
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 So, all right then. I believe that's a wrap on everything. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again next week, I believe. I won't tell you who my mystery guest is going to be, but we'll get to that eventually. Tony, thank you so much for coming out on the podcast. It was a joy to mingle through all this stuff and go through the career path so far, man.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, and it was fun. Would love to be able to tell everybody how fun it is.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So,
All right. Well, you have a good night too.
all right, thanks. You too.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for watching again. Until next time, I'm Chad Webster for the Racing Topic Podcast, and we'll see you in the
Happy
next
Friday.
one. Have a
Okay.
good one.